Welcome back to another episode of Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover. We're here with our Week 13 review show. The season has truly begun. We are past Thanksgiving, a full slate of games, 16 games to touch on, not to break down fully, but we'll give you our thoughts on the best of the action, have a roundup of our bets, share our Fantasy Gameday winning lineup, and of course, take a look ahead to a huge Thursday night football game. I'm, of course, as always, joined by Joe and Byron. Gentlemen, did you both have a wonderful Thanksgiving?
Certainly did, yeah. Thankful for the Eagles losing, thankful for the Cowboys winning. What more could you ask for? Great weekend.
It was a great one in that regard, and we'll come into those two games later. Joe, how was yours? Your second Thanksgiving?
Yeah, it was good. Obviously, don't celebrate out here, but yeah, got a day off since it was my birthday close by, so got to watch football all day. And yeah, it feels like my age ago when we had the Thursday games, Friday games, because I thought the Sunday games, there were certainly some fun ones as well. So it was actually a really good week of football with some, big upsets, some fun games coming down to the last minute. So yeah, football is cool. It's just begun, and yeah, some of the big hitters would not have a great season if it started today.
Yeah, it was, like I said, just those Thursday games do feel a long time ago. I had 4 full days of football across Thanksgiving games. College football regular season was ending, so there was games Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then full day of NFL on Sunday. So 4 full days. That sofa has got a big indent on it from me being just plastered to it for 40 odd hours of football that I watched over 4 days. So.
And all the plates of Thanksgiving food as well, yeah, didn't help.
Oh, with Thanksgiving feast, that turkey leg that I cooked, I had to get rid of it in the end. There was that much on it that we didn't eat. It was insane. And boy, did we try to eat it all. But yeah, shout out the Black Friday toasty, elite. Anyway, let's get into the games. And we'll start with probably the certainly the most interesting game from Sunday, or the biggest upset, I guess, certainly. That was the highlight of the Sunday slate. The Carolina Panthers, 31-28 winners over the Los Angeles Rams. Panthers pounce on turnovers for upsetting thriller. Mike Jackson tells Stafford to beat it with pick 6. Bryce is a smooth criminal on 4th down with 2 touchdown strikes to leave LA looking at the man in the mirror. Thank you. Yeah, anyway, Panthers huge underdogs, 10.5 points, I think it got to. And not just cover one outright, and deserving winners, I think, with the performance. What did you make of the Panthers upsetting the Rams?
Yeah, thriller is absolutely the right term to use here. And bravo on your excellent headline writing here, Paul. Might be your best work yet. Great for the Panthers. I never know what we're going to get from them week to week. We've said the same about the Falcons, but it seems like we're getting more of a read on the Falcons as the season goes along. The Panthers, though, no idea what's coming week to week. San Fran, I thought they were really disappointing last Monday. I thought they would put up a real fight, and apparently they were just saving it for LA, which I don't think any of us seen coming. And I'm certainly not going to call Joe for a bad take or anything, but it was so funny. Like last night, I was just browsing YouTube and I get like the YouTube shot of Joe picking that as his favorite, like no chance of Panthers cover. And we all took the Rams, let's be clear here, as minus 10.5 is like not a problem. Don't forget any of us considered that the Rams would lose the game. I mean, 10.5 is a lot to cover, but like no chance they'd lose the game outright. And I've seen a great fact yesterday. Bryce Young is the youngest quarterback in NFL history to have 11 fourth quarter game winning drives. I would never have guessed that. I mean, he's hot and cold like this team is. But when it hits. 3 touchdowns. And it feels like a bit of a cheat code somehow. Get him on 3rd and 4th down. Maybe put Andy Dalton in for the first 2 downs. Bring Bryce in when it matters. Because he just seems to hit another level on 3rd and 4th down, especially. I don't know the exact numbers. I did have them earlier, sorry. But yeah, and also, I mean, great. T-Mac got his 43-yard touchdown reception. Maybe give him more than 1 catch. 2 targets in the game. He absolutely bodies and dominates, and yeah, he still gets 1 catch for 43 yards and a touchdown. Not a bad-looking fantasy day if you've just seen that total, but you'd be a bit confused why he only had 1 reception. I'm just really pleased for the Panthers. who, it's been a rough, few years, let's be completely honest, and now are not quite tied for the division, but very close to it. So.
Yeah, I thought it was an outstanding performance from the Panthers, and it looked for all the world that the Rams was going to roll over another team here because they started off really well. They got Devontae Adams going, Stafford with another couple of touchdown passes, but the turnovers that hadn't happened, Stafford had got to the point where he's 30 touchdowns to 2 interceptions, the biggest gap between touchdowns and interceptions at this point in the season. And yeah, he just started throwing him through a bad one in the end zone and through the one that was obviously taken all the way back. He was a bit late on a throw to Puka Nakua to the outside, and so Mike Jackson took it all the way to the house. And the Panthers lived off those. But yeah, Bryce came up big in huge situations. We saw a bit of a return of Chuba Hubbard that we'd not seen for a while. Obviously, kind of lost the majority of his work to Rico Dowdle, more of an even split yesterday, but he hit some big plays on the ground and in the passing game as well. Yeah. So just a really solid all-round performance, I think, from Carolina, and they just went toe-to-toe, punch to punch with the Rams. And I don't think this is a massive kind of anything to worry about for the Rams. Like, they'd arguably played almost kind of 11 pretty perfect games in terms of they could have won the 2 games that they lost, previously. And, actually this one, they were a bit, the offense kind of spluttered a bit, probably for the first time in a long time, and they still were only just beaten. So I don't think nothing too much to worry about for the Rams. And there's a lot of teams now. Obviously, I think it's 3 teams at 9 wins in the 4 teams, 3 teams, 9 wins in the NFC. And yeah, the Panthers right in the mix now. All of a sudden, with the NFC South, almost it's in their control. It's in the Bucs' control as well. They've got to play each other twice in the last 3 weeks of the season. Those games can all of a sudden become really, really interesting. And you know what? With where they're at, the Panthers can beat the Bucs absolutely with the way they're playing at the minute. Unbelievable stuff. And yeah, great win, 7-6.
Yeah, it's actually 4 teams with 9 wins, Paul. I know you mentioned 3. There's 3 teams in just the West, so that just shows how good the West is, or maybe how easy the schedule is. And yeah, I agree. I don't think it's panic stations for the Rams. I think just with this Panthers team, you just don't know who's going to show up. Like what Byron mentioned, on Monday I was really disappointed. And with the injuries they got as well, it was a bit like, are they going to be able to cope with this juggernaut of an offense from the Rams? I think what's the most impressive what the Panthers did, though, was, the Rams had 1 more possession than them, but they had the ball an extra 10 minutes. They just kept the ball, and that's how you beat these teams like the Rams, is keep them off the field, because that offense is just so good. And just that running game that they managed to get going. Now, the Rams actually ran pretty well as well. I think that's another positive for them. But yeah, just with, like you mentioned, shout out to Chuba Hubbard, a Canadian, Albertan own. I think he's got the most rushing yards of any Canadian now in NFL history. The ball, and Bryce just throwing them touchdowns when they need to go. Yeah, it wasn't a big game for Ted McMillan, but Jalen Coker had a big game, and a few of us just stepped up, and that defense, them turnovers were the difference. And when he's coming down to these tight games, the Panthers just did what they had to do to win at home again, and makes NFC South a lot more interesting. But yeah, I don't worry about the Rams when you look at their schedule. They got the Cardinals twice and the Falcons, with Lions and Seahawks in between, so they should at least get to 12 wins, you expect, and then a toss up between the other 2 games. So yeah, good on the Panthers, proving me absolutely incorrect.
Yeah, Joe, I jumped on it as well to bet. We talked about kind of the road favourite struggling, but I just didn't see that for the Rams. I kind of bet them. So Panthers have got a bye now. Bye before they play the Saints, before they head into those 2 of 3 against the Bucs. They've also got to play the Seahawks in between the Bucs games. So yeah, kind of pivotal, those games. Very pivotal. They've got to beat the Saints. They've got to get that win back that they gave up the other week, and then got to look to win one or both of those games against the Bucs. And as you mentioned, the Rams have got the Arizona Cardinals next week. Right, let's move into our spotlight and takeaway games. I'm going to talk about Sunday Night Football. Joe, I know you normally love to talk about Sunday Night Football in these moments, but I've stole it from you, so apologies. Broncos 27, Commanders 26. Broncos battle to win with far from Benito performance. Little Spanish gag there. Mariota's heroics, not enough, as Washington falls short on 2-point conversion in overtime. Denver blitz way to win as D makes huge stop in all or nothing play. You know what? Sunday Night Football has been abysmal for like a month now. It needed a good game. I got royally boned twice. I'll just get that out of the way first. My mode about this. I took the Broncos minus 6.5. And I took the under. I was at least going to get one of them. The way that game was going. You know, could the Broncos close it out at 20-17? No, they couldn't. Could the Broncos get a stop and win it 27-20 in overtime and winning cover? No, they couldn't. Like, royally boned on both accounts, but it gave us a great game. So, you know.
Just to shake your hand there, I had both those on my fourfold. So
you did, mate. Yeah.
I feel it.
Rough week for the fourfold.
A lot of red.
Laura, I bet it's got to be the worst week we've ever had on it.
Yeah.
Rough all around. Nobody did any good. Anyway, back to Broncos Commanders. This is an interesting game. So this is back to the Broncos just find a way. Just again, like just different ways, but finding a way yet again. Because I felt there was points in this game where they should have just put the Commanders down, stepped on the necks, stepped on the throats, and just killed the game. And they just didn't. They just let the Commanders hang around. And hang around they did. Marcus Mariota, after an abysmal interception early on, played really, really well. He was 28-50. Obviously, having to throw the ball a lot, but 28-50, 294 and the 2 touchdowns. Zach Ertz had a monster game. Spared your blushes for a Sunday leader, I think, Byron, which we'll come to as well. But I thought they just played really well. Terry McLaurin was back. And they just kept fighting and kept sticking with the Broncos, who just could not really shake them off and get rid of them. And uncharacteristically, the Broncos defense just let up a lot of big plays. There was a 3rd and 21. They let the Commanders convert late on to keep the game alive. They have them at like 3rd and 25, letting them convert that through a 4th down. Just a lot of uncharacteristic stuff what we've seen from the Broncos defense. But when it mattered the most, when correctly the Commanders were going for 2 to win the game, they stepped up, they pressured, they sent one more than the Commanders could block. It was Nick Benito. Obviously, he jumped in the way of what looked to be a wide open Terry McLaurin if Mariota gets that ball through, who would have potentially won it for the Commanders. But bats the ball down and the Broncos survive, win 9 in a row. Does this kind of win, does this give you more cause for concern with the Broncos, or does this give you more confidence that no matter the circumstance, late in games, they can just find a way to win?
I think they're going to always be in games. I think it was weird. It was probably a reversal of what Bo Nix normally has been this year, where he's played poor the first 3 quarters and then come alive the 4th quarter, while this game he actually played well the first 3 quarters, but then went downhill in the last quarter. So the reverse, obviously, you mentioned about the defense. It feels like a lot of teams are targeting Riley Moss, where he's either pass interference or he's getting burned by wide receivers. So I don't think nothing much has changed from that. I think they're just going to be with that defense, with Sean Payton and the weapons they've got. I think they're going to be in a lot of games right to the end. You just worry that when they're playing the best of the best, when obviously they're clearly going to get to the playoffs, but when it comes down to it, spotlight, that final drive, are you going to be able to do that for, maybe 2, maybe 3 times throughout the playoff run? That's the only worry. But, Evan Ingram had played his best game this year. Has been one of the most disappointing free agency signings. I expected him to be massive this year. And, we all talk about the Broncos were crying out for a tight end, and he felt like he was going to fit that perfectly, and he hasn't really done much. So, they're getting these weapons going. So it's not really changed, where I don't see that, like, compared to the Rams, who I think could blow teams out. I think this Broncos team are just going to be there and thereabouts in every game. It's going to come down to the last few plays, and they've been winning them games, and that's what you need to do. But is it going to be the Vikings of last year who did this did a lot, or is it going to be the reverse, where they're able to just win all these games? So nothing much has changed from this game, but they keep winning, keep putting the pressure on teams below them, and it feels like with some of these big wins that may have sewn up the AFC West, obviously there's a few teams who could still cash them up, but I think they have a lot more flaws than this Denver team.
Excellent. Right. Any more on Broncos Commanders before we move on? No? Sweet. Okay. Next up, Byron, over to you.
Pittsburgh Steelers, Buffalo Bills. Has the bill come due for Tomlin in Pittsburgh? Rodgers putrid, defense sackless, run game toothless. A comfortable get-right game for Buffalo, who let James cook versus his poor Steelers outfit. It's 26-7. I think you could really pick a score that the Bills wanted it to finish, really. This was Pittsburgh, I think, at their absolute worst this season. I don't know if they've lost by a bigger margin, but just in terms of performance, I thought they were absolutely terrible. This isn't a Mike Tomlin team. I don't know what this team is, truthfully. Rodgers comes out looking bloody, looking beaten, looking disheveled. I don't know what his future holds. I did love somebody tweeted a picture saying he looks like one of the sticky bandits, which I thought was absolutely perfect. And I'm just looking through my phone. I took a screenshot of this one. Mike Tomlin losses by 17 or more points. In his first 13 seasons, it happened 12 times. In the last 5 seasons, it happened 10 times. This was just a butt kicking from start to finish. And this is a Bills O-line that we had plenty of concerns about. One of my bets of the game was Nick Herbig to get a sack. He was 7-2-ish, I think. Really long odds. He didn't get it. Nobody did for Pittsburgh. Defense didn't get going. Couldn't slow anyone down. James Cook, 144 on 32 carries. I think my bet was going to get 17.5 over. I thought they're probably going to ride James Cook. I thought he might get 25 touches, maybe at a high end. 32 was... I don't know how many games James Cook's had bigger than that, but not an awful lot, I would dare guess. And 144 yards, just absolutely dominated. And they just pushed Pittsburgh around. I don't know what the future is for Pittsburgh. I hope they don't sneak a playoff spot because it's just going to be this on an island game, which do any of us need to see that again for the 5th year in a row? I don't think so. And, Bills get a get-right game. They've needed one. Again, I think they're probably not going to get the division at this point. I think Patriots are heavy favourites, rightly so. But they get an easy win, go on to next week. And Pittsburgh, I just don't know. I think it's going to be a really big conversation come week 18.
Yeah, so we just have a look at Aaron Rodgers as one of the wet bandits from Home Alone. It's the season after all.
It's ironic because he normally spends his Christmases more like Kevin, away from his family.
It's just real sad, isn't it?
No.
I think it's
incredible. It's hilarious.
It's been funny for it. I think he's just real sad now. He's just a real old man. He's getting beat up. When the blood was just running down his face and nose, I was just just give it up, man. You don't need this. You don't.
He doesn't.
You've done enough. You've had one hell of a career.
And I genuinely think he looks worse playing week by week.
He does, yeah. And I've just taken us all off the screen by accident, so apologies. I will rectify that. I hate this StreamYard. Can one of you guys fix it for me in the background while we're still... Cheers, Joe. When I switch from view to view, it just goes crazy. Anyway, it's just awful. I don't think they were... I don't know what's worse, them or the Ravens at the minute. I'm not sure because, again, we'll get to them later, but... One of them, it's going to be one of those two that's going to be hosting a playoff game.
Mm-hmm. Unless
they couldn't.
But maybe. Let's have a little hope left for the rest of the season until they're mathematically out. We are talking about the Cincinnati Bengals who actually have a fun quarterback this year, which the Ravens don't, which is weird. And the Pittsburgh Steelers don't have anything fun at all. I don't have anything to add to this game. I don't want to harper on long and hard about the AFC North for the rest of the episode. So
just one last bit. Shout out Josh Allen, broke Cam Newton's rushing touchdown record. It's now 70. So it was tied, now 76 rushing touchdown, the most by any quarterback in NFL history.
Very impressive.
Excellent. Joe, let's move on to your game.
Yeah, Chicago, top bear in town. Bears keep winning. Paddington, the win column after defeating the below average Eagles. Are Eagles in a fuzzy patch or a repeat of 2023? Who would have thought week 13, top of the NFC, is the Chicago Bears led by a bare-chested demigod, in Ben Johnson getting everyone food. The Bears, I thought they deserved to win this. I thought though it was when the Eagles got back to 10-9 and they got the interception, I thought the Bears blowing this because they just ran all over this Eagles defense. I'm curious if like the game against the Cowboys took a lot out of this team because especially a short week, they won the field quite a lot against the Cowboys and same again. But this Bears run offense with Monangai going for 130 yards and DeAndre Swift going for 125. I think he looked really impressive coming back off his injury and off the bye. And I think it was the first time they had two rushers over 100 yards since the 85 Bears. So it's showing a lot that this Bears team, Ben Johnson is showing. And I think he just had a great game plan where the Eagles it felt like the Eagles didn't change their tact on defense, didn't change their tact on offense. There's just growing concerns. Obviously, the Boo Birds were out, after the first quarter, it felt like, especially at halftime.
The first offensive drive. You saw
a young kid giving a different kind of bird to the players, and his dad saying, "Well done, son. Good on you," to the Philadelphia. Yeah, it's a team who's 8-4, who were 8-3 before, and it's just the question is it the repeat of 2023 where they started 10-1 and suddenly dropped off a cliff, because it has that kind of feeling again where you're a team who keeps winning, but there's been a lot of discontent in the background. And, the offense just doesn't look right. That offensive line is no longer a game difference maker. That defense, we've always mentioned the one across from Quinion Mitchell. If it's, it's been a Jackson most of the year and people just tagged him in this. Like I said, this Bears team just did what they had to do. And like I said, they were unlucky to be only 10-3 up at halftime and then, going 10-9 after that interception to stop. It feels like people are finally stopping the tush push now and managed to get that fumble as well. And then from on there on, Caleb Williams was just a Caleb Williams stuff. And I think he's looking more and more impressive, hitting big throws when he needs to, having big runs when he needs to as well. There was quite a few where he managed to pick up first downs, just rolling out, dodging sacks, and he's actually got some wheels. And I think, hugely impressive when you look at what they've done, what they came into this year. So fair enough to the Bears. We said they were coming into their tough schedule, and they're beating the Steelers, they're beating the Eagles, and they move on to the Packers. There's no reason why they can't beat them. So, are the Bears changing, our opinion on them? I'll ask you guys in terms of, can they be one of the best NFC teams and go to playoffs all confident?
Well, what a difference a year makes. Thanksgiving this week. Last year, they had that disaster of a finish at Detroit with just the clock mismanagement. Matt Eberflus is fired. That's the 6th of a 10-game losing streak that just kind of started after the Hail Mary loss against the Commanders, and everything's a mess. 12 months later, as you said, the number one team in the NFC, number one seed at the minute. If I'd have told you that even in August, that would get to week 13 and the Bears would be the number one seed in the NFC, you'd have had me committed. You'd have sent me to the loony bin. Like, probably it's not a particularly PC term, I know. But, we got off your head what you're talking about, the Bears number one seed after 13 weeks. And and they just seem to be going from strength to strength. Every test they seem to come up against, they're passing it, and they're passing it with flying colours at the minute, which is outstanding. Yeah, you know what? I'm going looking at that Bears-Packers game next week. They've got to play them twice, but next week is one of the highlights on the slate, going, the Bears can absolutely beat the Packers. And, normally you wouldn't say that just the Packers would beat them up for fun. That's not the case anymore. And that makes things real.
Unbeaten in Lambeau.
Want to know? Ended that 10-game losing streak in Lambeau Field last year. So, very exciting.
Yeah, Eberflus' point is perfect because they've gone from tit out to tits out. I think that's just really sums up how far they've come. And Joe, you mentioned it's been a long time since they had 2 100-yard rushes in the game. It was November 10th, 1985 against the Detroit Lions. Weirdly, they scored 24 points in both games. You'd think more, wouldn't you, if you put up 100, 2 players getting 100. Do you want to tell me what was number one anyway? We'll be quick.
November 85.
Yeah. It's a banger.
We had an 85 one last week. It was George Michael, wasn't it? Or it was Wham. Was that so?
Yeah, it's 80-ish. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's 85, but yeah, it's not Wham.
I'm going to go Kate Bush. Winning up that hill. Oh.
No, I don't know why I made you drag it out.
I know.
All right, go on, put that on misery, Byron.
It is Starship. We built this city.
Oh, great.
And
tune.
Chicago building this city on runs and runs. So more to look forward to, I'm sure.
Just a quick one on Ben Johnson ripping the shirt off. Is that like a Sirianni at Chiefs the other year moment?
This is pure good vibes. There's no mocking. There's no trolling. Everyone gets a free hot dog from Wiener Circle. Shout out Wiener Circle on Tuesday. It's good vibes, and I love it because it's like buying into the city, putting out those positive things. There's no dragging anybody down with it, and there's no smart arsery about it. It's just people being happy and jolly, in my opinion.
We'll talk a little bit more about the Eagles later, but just this, because this just got up there, the story added to ESPN while we're recording. So obviously the huge problem is all on the offense. Weirdly, they had an AJ Brown problem, the offense, and he's had 2 games with 10 plus catches and 100 plus yards and touchdown and multiple touchdowns, and the offense still isn't fixed. Anyway, obviously, offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo is the source of the frustration. On Saturday morning, his home was vandalized with eggs, I assume, from Eagles fans, because who else would it be?
I presume.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of shitty. Let the guy live his life. He's not, doing any. He's just not good at his job. Like,
yeah.
I'm glad you said eggs, though, rather than like something more drastic. But it's just grow up.
Stay classy, Eagles fans. Right, let's move on. Weekly overreaction. And we'll carry on the subject talk, I suppose. Back to Thanksgiving we go. Cowboys 31, the Kansas City Chiefs 28. Cowboys climbing, Eagles free falling. NFC East not dead yet. Lamb and Pickens give McDuffie a day from hell. Defense improving, forcing stops at key moments. Path to the division alive as the Chiefs head to Last Chance Saloon. Incredible game. This is just what we needed on Thanksgiving night. We had Cooper Rush versus Drew Lock in this spot last year as the Cowboys took on the Eagles, so much better as kind of, these two teams coming off the back of huge wins from week 12, trying to keep the playoffs hopes alive, get a big win, and the Cowboys got it, and I thought kind of overcame a really rough start with Dak throwing the interception instantly and the Chiefs going real easy. But you know what? They didn't. Again, this team's a little bit different now. They don't just kind of cave in and collapse. They rallied round, and Dak then from then on, maybe 1 or 2 more could have got picked, but he had a pretty good game, the rest of the way. And, with a bit, some run support, and CD Lamb bounced back from his case of the drops against the Eagles with a huge game. And George Pickens, again, sort of made huge plays as the game went on. And they targeted McDuffie. Again, he's probably one of the best corners in the NFL. And he had just a horrible day because they just kept targeting him over and over and over again. And Lamb and Pickens just had joy the whole night through. But really, really good performance from the Cowboys, I thought. And the defense, Again, gave up 4 passing touchdowns to Mahomes, who had a really good day. But as that game wore on, they got more and more pressure on Mahomes, were able to sack him, stopped him running, which I think was a big issue earlier in the game. He had one of them big 3rd and I think it was 16 that he made with his feet, and you're thinking, this is going to be a long day. But they got it right when it mattered. Late in the game, they made those key plays, and whether it was Jadeveon Clowney with a couple of sacks, Dante Fowler got 1, but Quinnen Williams was just a disruptive force through the middle all day long, and the others were able to make plays. Just really, really, really solid. A bit of luck went their way. Kevontae Turpin was Johnny on the spot. I scream about one of Brian Schottenheim's flaws is he just refuses to run the ball inside the 10-yard line. It nearly cost them. Kevontae Turpin luckily there to pick up a fumble. But yeah, just great win. And there's a lot of good vibes. The Cowboys are still alive. And with the Eagles collapsing, there's more than one. There's 2 paths to the playoffs for the Cowboys. And I think winning the division's the more likely one because that wild card picture in the NFC is very, very crowded. But outstanding stuff. And the Chiefs, no more slip-ups. They lose again. They're done. That could be this week. They've got the Texans this week. I'll throw it over to you because I've just babbled on there. But quickly, what did you make of it? This was I thought it's an outstanding game played at such a high level.
Yeah, I don't have much to add, really. You've covered it really comprehensively. It was just really, really enjoyable watching Lamb and Pickens. I'm not going to say at their best, but close to it. Especially since the NFL apparently have outruled OPI on Thursdays, which I think is a great addition. Get some more points on the board. Don't let defenders, stand still. You just got to push off them whenever you want. But it also puts pay to the Chiefs get all the calls, because Dallas did get plenty of fortunate ones on Thursday with the OPIs just apparently not being a thing. But again, the Chiefs have had plenty of rub in their dynasty so far. So yeah, no complaints. I do want to shout out as well. We talked about this a few weeks ago. Dak Prescott's into 11-1 to MVP. We tipped him at 50 a few weeks ago. Maybe. If he wins the division, it's definitely in play. So
well, you're gonna have to to win the division realistically, you're gonna have to run the table. So that's 11-5, 11-5-1. That should be good. 11 wins should be good enough for MVP. If obviously,
he scored one from 2023 as well. So
yeah, I'm guessing it's how Stafford ends it. Just got obviously had a shaky game last one. I think it's probably in between them. But yeah, I just my 2 cents is that the Chiefs when they're in the position, you think they're going to win this. They've lost that this year, and I think that's the craziest. Where the Rice drop when it was 28-21, when it was 3rd and 8, and dropping that again. You expected the Chiefs to march down the field, and again when they scored that touchdown, you expect this defense just to do a 3 and out, and then Patrick Mahomes has got a minute to get a field goal or touchdown to win it, and it feels like they've just lost that where the Cowboys just took it away. So yeah, the Chiefs are certainly in, like we mentioned, could be last chance to learn against, especially when the Texans, and how they've lost the teams around who's around them, especially if he gets the wild card. I think that's going to be tricky, because if they lose to the Texans, they would have lost to the Jags, they would have lost to the Chargers. So some of these losses, are worse than just a single number. So yeah, huge game for them this weekend, and it'd be strange if the Chiefs don't make the playoffs, but it's certainly it could happen this year.
Yeah, just a quick one again, just on the Cowboys were 28-1 to win the NFC East going into the games this week. They're now 13-2.
And I think what they've done is what we're going to talk about the opposite for another team pretty soon. Their defense has just become passable. That's all it needed to become. It just needed to be 20th in the NFL. And you've got a playoff team, because the offense is so good this year. And the other team is actually in Texas as well. The Texans just needed to get a competent enough offense, because that defense will kill you. And they both seem to be figuring out at the right time, hopefully with just enough time for Dallas to get in there somehow, one way or another.
Yeah, Diggs back for the Cowboys this week as well. And I wonder if they're now much more stout up front. If we start seeing the turnovers come for Bland and Diggs, and they can start taking more chances. They've not been able to do that given the mess.
I was going to say, they were taking the chances anyway, so now they're in an actual position to do it.
Yeah. And just that Eagles run. I think Eagles win 4 or 5, they win the NFC East. 2 games circled on this. At Chargers, Monday Night Football, although Justin Herbert injury potentially might be out. At Buffalo Bills, Week 17. And they've got 2 against the Commanders, who, if they play like they did last night, it was live. So if the Eagles drop 2, there's a path for the Cowboys to win it. So we shall see. Right, enough Cowboys talk. I appreciate we talk a lot about the Cowboys. But moving on to your next one, Byron.
Yeah, Texans 20, Colts 16. Colts South battle is going south. Indiana squeaky bum time playing like ass with division matchups to come. Will they continue being sourceless, or can they overcome injuries to win the division? Sauce Gardner's calf injury talked as a potentially back in the regular season. That doesn't sound great to me for a team who, they have it coming up. Their schedule, we've talked over and over about how it's hitting the tough point in the schedule. The end of the season is going to be killer. They've now lost to the Chiefs, lost to the Texans. Those aren't any reason to kill a team. Those are losable games. But upcoming at Jags, at Seahawks, 49ers, Jags, at Texans. We've just seen Texans, I'm not going to say have the way with them 2016, could have went either way, but it did go the Texans' way, crucially. Them 2 games against the Jags, massive, obviously. Seahawks, Niners, both on 9 wins, both battling for their division. There was not a gimme here. Danny Dimes playing through a broken leg of some degree. We're not quite sure exactly. It just doesn't look good. Sauce Gardner, I think, is a huge one to be out. I think he was someone they were going to rely on down the stretch. That's why you give up all them picks to do it. Credit to Houston. I hated the decision to go back to CJ Stroud. I don't think he didn't look bad by any means. I think he looked better than before he was out injured. So I think the offense has improved around him as well. Still managed to get Nico Collins involved. Nearly got 100 yards receiving. Got his rushing touchdown as well. Finally got him some use somewhere. But I just think the gas seems to be running out of Indianapolis, and I don't know how they fix it. It's kind of a bleak one. They've had the bye. They've come back from it looking like pumpkins, and that narrative is going to stick until they force it to change. And I kind of just don't see them doing it anytime soon. Again, Jonathan Taylor, 85 yards on 21 attempts. Not terrible, but that's not Jonathan Taylor from the first half of the season who's blowing over teams, going for, best part 200 yards, 3 touchdowns a week. It just all seems to be petering out for Indianapolis, and it kind of sucks because it was such a good feel-good story at the start of the season, and now, they're tied for the division. With Jacksonville, Houston 1 game back. Obviously, Houston have the tie break on them immediately. Yeah, lot to come for Indianapolis, but I'm not confident they make the playoffs at this point.
Yeah, I was going to say, with the Colts, I will be doing our power rankings this week. They're a team I think is going to drop quite heavily just because I was giving them the benefit of just playing good teams, but it's week after week. Now there's like I said, we've talked about the Rams game where that loss doesn't really change how I feel about the Rams, but the Colts I do. Now with Sauce's injury, which I think is big. And like you said, that the magic of Daniel Jones has slightly gone, and I think there's some with Jonathan Taylor. I think if he gets over 100 yards rushing, they're like 8-0 and stuff like that. So teams are obviously trying to stop him now. He is their main weapon, and I think when he's on fire, it just opens everything up for Daniel Jones. But now it's like, okay, we need to rely on him a lot more, and it's not quite working. Obviously, going against the Texans defense, who's we said at the in the preview are the best defense in the league, and they're probably always going to turn up. So just them and the Broncos, or you think, okay, defense is going to give you good to great every game. But yeah, you just worry about with the games coming up, and that Jags game again. It's another huge game. They both got the same record. If you lose that as well, you're down 2. You lost at home against the Texans. I think that's another big thing as well. And then where do you go from here? Because you lost to the Chiefs when you look at and you start looking at the wild card stuff and where they're going to pick up them wins to get to that 10, 11 wins to maybe sneak in. I think that's a problem the Colts are going to see going forward because they've got no gimmies rather compared to other teams who are around and they've got 1 or 2 games. So you can see 2 wins there. But with the Colts, it's you've got to beat good teams, especially the ones in your division, and you came up short in the first one.
Yeah, just on that note, Chiefs have got to be praying that the Jags go on and win that division and the Chiefs take care of business against the Texans, and then they've got the tiebreaker over the Texans and the Colts. On that note, Danny Dines, you mentioned us playing with a fractured, I think, tibia. I was getting mixed up between two. I think it's fibia. He's just, obviously, mobility is being able to move and run is part of his game. He just couldn't move. If you've got a Danny Dimes that just can only stay in the pocket, that's bad. That, as well as he's played and as well as he's done, that's a recipe for disaster. But they don't really have another. Didn't really have.
Are you saying it's Anthony Richardson time?
No.
You heard it. Paul has just confirmed it's Anthony Richardson season. Getting picked up in your fantasy leagues.
I think it's Riley Leonard because Anthony Richardson's still on IR.
He'll be fine soon. IR is definitely the right term for it as well.
Yeah. Don't think Sauce is heading there though. It sounds like they're going to keep him off sponsors at this stage anyway. So, but yeah, yeah. Next up, Joe, your game.
Yeah, back to Thanksgiving we go. And the first game, which was this week, Panic in Detroit. Time to pack up Super Bowl aspirations. With a number of issues hamstringing this team, it's next week game. Well, we'll talk about it, the Thursday Night Football against the Cowboys, a must win. And a Packers now the favorite to win the NFC North, just with the performance they had against these Lions, obviously going 2-0. And I think Jordan Love's showing he's definitely a top 10. I think he probably sneaks into a top 5 quarterback in terms of when he has no pressure. Some of them throws he was doing against this Lions defense were incredible. I think he steps up, and when you look at just the overall teams, when for example, Parsons versus Hutchinson, it's you can't just always do comparisons. But the star men, Parsons stepped up. He got the pressures. He got the quick pressures, the 2 sacks. And this Packers team just looked overall, just looked better than the Lions, actually. And I think they had such a good game plan. I'm not quite, obviously, Dan Campbell's taken over the offense. I'm not quite sure if that's quite working. Some of the players, not great. Obviously, Amon St. Brown, now injured. Doesn't seem like it's going to be it's a low ankle sprain, so might be a couple of weeks. Then you're relying on some, when you look at them, the wide receivers. I know Jameson had a good week, but can you rely on him every single week in, week out? And Tom Kennedy is your second best wide receiver coming off the practice squad. And I just think and you lost, obviously, Laporta as well. And, the centre Ragnos were coming back from retirement, but he's got a hamstring injury, which is a strange one. That he didn't realise he had an injury before doing the medical. So I just worry for this Lions team. You look at the games they've got coming up. I'll probably lean in the Cowboys. I know we're going to talk about that game in a bit, but the Lions have not got any easy games. Got Cowboys and Rams. So if they lose them 2 games, then suddenly 7-7, and this NFC could be loaded. And is 10-7 going to be enough to get in there? It's just a worry, and I think. I thought Jared Goff played well as well. I thought, he actually had a good game, but you see his limitation in terms of when they flush him out the pocket, just him not having the speed. And I think, especially there was a Jameson Williams pass where he was just behind him again, which was a huge play. And I don't know. I'm just not liking what I'm seeing with this Lions team. They're just not quite what I expected coming into this year. And I think it's 2 games in a row now, or maybe 2 out of 3, where when they're down a touchdown or more, taking like 6-7 minutes drives just to get a field goal at the end, and they did that against the Eagles as well. It's not the Lions where you expect these explosive players scoring these all these points. It's it's certainly worrying. How do you guys feel about this Lions team going forward?
Yeah, I think the issues are on that offensive line. I think defense are struggling bodies again, but that offensive line's a huge problem, and Parsons took advantage of it. Parsons, if everybody was fit and present and they were good on the line, Parsons can still do damage. So when you're weak in that area, obviously you just feasted on Thanksgiving. But 2.5 sacks. But we got to the point it was desperation time. They're trying to get Frank Ragnow out of retirement. He's clearly sick of being at home with the kids. And it was that bad at home that he tried to sneak a devastating hamstring injury past the medical to come back and play. But until that offensive line gets better, which I don't think it will, I think the Lions are really, really going to struggle because it's just too easy to get Goff under pressure. And we know when you get that pressure in his face, he struggles. That's still a lot of quarterbacks. It's not particularly slight on Jared Goff, but, he really, really does struggle. And, if you don't have Gibbs, getting you out of trouble with the home run hits, I think it's going to be a struggle. I actually fancy the Lions to beat the Cowboys on Thursday, weirdly. And they're very much like must-win territory. But, not looking good for Detroit. The Packers needed that. That's that kind of... They have these moments in seasons I think they've had under Jordan Love where it all just clicks. I think this might have been that moment where everything just... The pieces all just came together, and they all of a sudden start having huge offensive outputs.
Yeah, and I think what's impressive with the Packers, they've lost Tucker Kraft, which was a GTC favourite. There's players stepping up, like Christian Watson coming back from that injury. He's looking like the overall wide receiver, not just the burner now. He's catching them mid-route as well. Obviously, Wicks had a big game, and just a few of us, and they're missing. Why is his name? Just Golden, obviously the first round pick, and also Jaden Reed as well. So you got 2 more wide receivers to come in, and it's just all looked like the big Packers that we fought again. One of them teams that had a lot of 2s, but I think Watson is stepping up. He's getting that big game, and I think what impressed me most in that game is every time the Lions scored, the Packers scored straight afterwards, and they just killed the momentum. It was in Lions' best halftime show there's been for quite a long time in. On Thanksgiving and even the Super Bowl as well. So you just got to give all credit to the Packers, and I would give them the favourite. I think it's a huge game against the Bears. I think they have that extra level, but if the Bears beat the Packers again, they're going to keep proving me wrong. So it sets up for a great game on Sunday. Bit annoying that they play twice in 18 days, the Packers and Bears, but hey.
Shout out Jack White there. Jack White and Eminem. Oh, what a duo. And
Meg White was looking rough though. She's looking better.
Yeah, it's just seen better days. But yeah, just emotion that we should have Jack White playing Seven Nation Army at the halftime of every single NFL game, if possible.
I think he might have better things to do, but yeah, I'm up for it. If he is, I am.
Yeah, it's awesome. Cool. Let's move on from Jack White and Eminem and the Detroit Lions. Oh, shout out Post Malone. Post Malone's pretty good as well. On to our fourfold challenge. Bad week, sad week for the boys. Just didn't really go right at all, did it? I suppose Joe's got a chance to salvage some self-respect, I guess. He can go 3-1 if Monday Night Football falls his way. Maybe it has. Choose your own adventure. Did it, Joe? Have you gone 3-1? You know he's on mute. He's gone 1-3. Fuck him. Patriots covering under. Yeah, let's start with. We've talked about your games, Joe, haven't we? So you had the under in Texans, Colts, and Rams as your favourite. So you're 1-1 so far, as I say, waiting on your double Monday Night Football. Byron, you went double Sunday Night Football, and as you mentioned earlier, didn't work out. You had under on Broncos Commanders, and Broncos as 6.5-point favourites, which they won but didn't cover. You had the Texans as 4.5-point underdogs. Great shout. I also had that as a bet. Yeah, the Texans won outright. And then you had the Seattle Seahawks and Minnesota Vikings over. It was 26-0 to the Seattle Seahawks. And you really did need the Seattle Seahawks to cover this on their own because poor Max Brosmer. Oh,
I mean, if that's Max Brosmer, I'd hate to see minimum Brosmer.
Very good. Last quarterback to throw 4 or more interceptions on their NFL.
Nathan Peterman.
Nathan
Is
Peterman,
it?
correct, yeah.
Let's go.
Nathan Peterman back in 2017. Yeah, Brosman. And weirdly, the first one, which was by far and away the worst one, the Seahawks was
so good.
Yeah, the Seahawks were 6-0 up at the time, and the Vikings were in the red zone, in fact, inside the 10, looking to take the lead. And then it did very much go all downhill from there as the pick six. From how would you describe that throw? We've not got the clip to show you because we don't want to look. We're not piling on poor Max.
How would I describe it? It was unhinged. It was a very poor decision. Paul Allen was on commentary and I think described it really well. He's a really good commentator for the Vikings. He was rolling out to his right and backwards and backwards and right and backwards, and then when he's getting sacked and going to lose the down, he decides to underarm it to Ernest Jones, who was wide open because he's a linebacker, and no one else near him, and he just ran all the way back. It was really sad. I don't think we'll see Max Brosmer again. Brosmer. And yeah, that was kind of the start. I mean, he only had 2 less passing yards than Sam Darnold, and if you include the Ernest Jones pick 6, he probably had more, so...
Yeah, that 85-yard return.
Yeah, if you tell me that, one of his first drives ends up with an 85-yard touchdown, I'd be like, hey, yeah, maybe this guy is the next Tony Romo or next Kurt Warner. But yeah, it was to Ernest Jones. And, first of 4 interceptions. So yeah,
it's for Brian Flores, where you've stopped the Seahawks, you've only got 1 rushing touchdown, and the rest is goals. You've lose 26 goals.
JSN, I think 0 fantasy points. I don't think JSN had a catch.
So you had 23, yeah.
Yeah, it's got to kill a lot of fantasy teams who it's got you to like the verge of the playoffs, and then 2 for 23, not quite 0, but essentially for what you expect from JSN at this point. Yeah, I don't think there's too much to say here. The Vikings didn't have a functional offense, didn't have a functional quarterback. Interesting rest of season for Minnesota. JJ McCarthy is expected to clear the concussion protocol. That's how bad Max Brosmer looked. So we'll see what comes next from Minnesota. Very, very, very comfortable for Seattle. On to next week for both teams.
Yeah, damaging for JSN on his 2K hunt though. Only 3 yards here, kind of in such a dominant win. Maybe you kind of might have been hoping for, I could go big here, and but as you say, Brian Flores absolutely did a real good job defensively. Despite
he did have a better day than Justin Jefferson, at least 2 for 4.
Yeah, I've got JJ. I should have took that rancid trade offer I got a few weeks ago. I think it was
I was thinking about that yesterday. Yeah,
Joe Flacco got offered.
At least you'd have benched Flacco by now. You're still starting Jefferson.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. We are over to me. So I went 0-4. I fully disgraced myself. Apologies. I got real close last week. I don't need to do it again. Don't need the sound effect again.
You did for 0-4.
Yeah. Have we had an 0-4 before? We must have.
Well, we had before in previous years. Yeah, but not this year.
First one this season.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was so close last week, 3-1, and the Lions let me down as huge favourites. And then, gone 0-4 this week. So let's start. But let's start on a positive for the game, at least. So I took the Dolphins as 6-point favourites. And somehow the New Orleans Saints had a opportunity to win this football game, which, given how it was going, is insane. But there's only one person we need to be talking about in this game, and that was the first start and NFL debut of Island Zone, the north of Island Zone. Charlie Smith, the Mayo Bridge man, had he waited a long time to get involved in the game after the opening kickoff. Nailed his field goal, hit a beauty of an onside kick. Whether you know how good that was for your first attempt in the NFL. At such a low, what is it, like less than 5% recovery rate of an onside kick, or less than 7%? Nailed the helicopter kick perfectly and gave the Saints a chance to win the game. Ultimately, sadly, Kellen Moore was just awful on the calls, and they blew it. That was the first. I think I want to say I'd seen the stat before. I think it's maybe since 2007. It's a long time since the Saints have recovered an onside kick. I think it was 13 years or more anyway, since they've done it. But outstanding debut from Charlie. So shout out. And you know what? Let's have a look. Because you know what? We should celebrate. And the pub in Mayo Bridge in the village in County Down, where Charlie's from, certainly were celebrating. And we've got his field goal cut with the footage from the pub. So the field goal's from Fox. The footage from the pub is from Michael McQuaid from NFL Island, Pro Football Island at NFL Island on X and Instagram. That's been renamed Pro Football Mayo Bridge in honor of Ireland's newest NFL star. It's not going wild before he even picked it. It's great.
This is 56 yards away. The kick is it's out, and it's good. Charlie Smith, a first-year international half-white player, a native of Northern Ireland in his first NFL game, a former Gaelic football player. His first kick of the NFL regular season. Good.
That was good for quite a lot longer as well, that.
I think it'd have been good from a 70. I think it was outstanding. So shout out again, Michael McQuaid from Pro Football Island for the footage. And it was excellent. And I had the onside kick that's gone on from my bookmarks, but you can find that I've looked at it on X or whatever. I've not got it, Joe. But shout out Charlie. Fingers crossed. Obviously, that's his job now. After obviously Blake Groupie. So I'm sure he will go from strength to strength throughout the remainder of the season. Boy, can he kick it a long way. Just some great stuff off the back of it as well, like just some great stories. So obviously, I think he found out quite late in the week he was going to play. I think he found out Friday. His mum and dad and a couple of his pals and the guy from the kicking group, obviously that helped Charlie get to that position. But the first flight's possible to fly out to Miami. They had to fly out through Chicago, and Byron, I'm sure you can attest to, the weather was awful in Chicago. They had delays and cancellations. Traveled 23 hours to get there. His mum and dad are back at work on Tuesday. Great stuff. And what a proud moment for them. So shout out again, Charlie Smith, newest Irish star in the NFL. Dolphins didn't cover. Anyway, Jags Titans. I took over 41.5 just on the back of all Jags road games seem to be going over. And this one didn't. 25-3. There was no frisky Titans. We've seen the Titans kind of cover a lot of spreads as big underdogs. They didn't. They were woeful. But the Jags took care of business, which is something they've not really been doing with great comfort in the past few weeks, but that's 3 in a row that they've won. They are so far away from that team that I watched at Wembley Stadium not 6 weeks ago get just demolished by the Rams, and all of a sudden they're in the pole position for the AFC South. Or, I'll say pole position, that might be much, but the top of the division again. Can the Jags kind of pull it together, do you think, in terms of and close this out to get a division win in 11, 12 games potentially? I think one of you two guys, Byron, you certainly high on the Jags to say they might win 11, 12 games.
Yeah, I had them over 10.5 going into the season. I did get a little worried about it, obviously, when they hit that with the Rams. That was a foot kicking. But I thought they were just really assured yesterday, which is something you don't really say about the Jacksonville Jaguars. Even when they win, it's always a little chaotic, it feels like. Trevor Lawrence, very unspectacular, but I think maybe one of his best games of the season, just because he just kept things ticking over, no back-breaking interceptions, a little work with his legs, but just kept the ball moving, kept things going. Jacoby Myers probably been better than I expected. I think I don't think the ceiling expectations were really high, but he's coming in being their leading receiver since he came in. And I think maybe an underrated big return has been Brenton Strange. They really struggled at tight end to fill that position while he was out injured. And since he came back last week, he's just kind of picked up from where he started. I think he's one that I'd only expect to keep ascending throughout this year, maybe into next year as well. And just looks a really useful player. I mean, they got rid of Evan Ingram in the off-season, and that certainly looks a good decision to give Brenton Strange that role and more work on the back of it.
I think it helps the last 5 games have got the Jets and Titans are 2 of the games. So you expect them to win them to be, that's like 10 wins there. And then you've got the Colts twice and the Broncos. So it's really the Colts games which should define if they win this division, but they should at least get 10. And then you think they could get 11 or 12. They could, beat the Colts twice. Surprise the Broncos, wouldn't be surprised at that. So they certainly put themselves in position to go all the way and win this division.
Excellent. And then I took Shadur and the Browns as 5-point underdogs. Joe, I think you fed me some bad information in the preview. You told me the weather was going to be atrocious in Cleveland, and it wasn't.
Never trust the weatherman, obviously.
Michael Fish over here. Niners, that's a very niche reference. 49ers 26, Browns 8. And this was, I'd say, a walk in the park for the Niners.
Yeah, impressive win. I think the defense certainly stepped up. A lot of times in this game, obviously, it was close. It was the only week they were down 8-7 just before halftime, and they had a good drive to get the extra points, a big Kittle catch, just to make it 10-8. And it was always one of them games where I felt like if they got a touchdown 10 points up, then that was it. That's all they needed to do, because I think Shadur would, it's the only second game, his first proper start. Can he actually do, have that lift to this Browns team what none of the other quarterbacks have really given them? So I didn't believe that. And I thought the 49ers played well. They obviously they stopped them on downs the first half. They got a fumble from, I think it was Fanning dropped the ball from a close, but it was 4th down anyway. And then they got, I think it was an interception as well, or maybe it recovered a punt. So I think it was nice to see a 49ers team, the whole team playing well. The offense did enough. The special teams, which has usually been their weakness this year. Sky Moore's been really good for the 49ers in terms of punt returning and kick returning. He's coming in midway through the season. He's having a huge effect. And the defense, like I said, stepping up, a young defense, which is certainly frisky and can keep this kind of Cleveland team in check. Myles Garrett got another sack, so he's getting closer to that record, which I was happy about. So I do want him to beat the Strahan record. And I was just impressed. I think he had a few things after the game about Purdy as well, where he said he's really hard to get down. He's pretty shifty, and I think that's the biggest difference between him and Mac Jones, that he's got that shiftiness and can move around in the pocket and try and escape Myles Garrett. Because I think there was one where it was literally like someone was all over him and he managed to get a first down. So impressive day for the 49ers. They've got the Titans next week, and then they're on the bye, so they're going to the bye at 10-4. And then got 3 big games against the Colts, Bears, and Seahawks. So, with how tight the NFC is, they're probably need to win 3 games, I would say, to get into the playoffs. So, not 2 games. So, I need to get 2 games. Probably if get to 11-6, they probably might sneak it in. But Yeah, so big game to win, because I thought if they lost this, then they might have been in trouble for the playoffs.
Juwan Jennings isn't making friends with NFL defenses currently. Should we have a quick listen to what Shelby Harris had to say about 3rd and Juwan?
He's a hoe, and I want that known. Like, I see why he got punched in the nuts, because that's some, like, he says some things that you should not say to another man ever. But like, I don't respect it because you say that, then run behind your O-line. That's some real soft shit, and I want that known. I see exactly why they punched the nuts. I'm surprised nobody punched him in the jaw yet.
What an outstanding look! That's up there with the Breece Hall look-aside interview, I think, of the season. Just truly outstanding stuff. I think Juwan Jennings was not being particularly nice to Malik Collins when he was down injured. Mm-hmm. Sounds like a bit of a dick, Juwan Jennings, I got to be honest. Maybe I'm quite glad he got punched in the knob the other night.
It feels like one of them players where you love him to be on your team, but you hate him being on the other teams. We're one of them kind of players where there's plenty of teams have got them kind of guys.
Yeah, not cool, but a great quote. And the second major calling out of someone being a hoe in American football in the space of 3 days. Outstanding stuff. Hopefully Juwan Jennings has a response as fun as the other one went, because that was fucking awesome. So we'll see. Anyway, Raiders Chargers under 41 was my under. There was no need for the Chargers to score that touchdown at the end. Why did they do that?
Hardball against Carroll. Should have thought about that. He was getting his own back against Carroll.
No need. Just run the fucking clock out. Anyway, 31-14. I suppose that the game doesn't really matter, this one. Justin Herbert busted up his non-throwing hand. He's set for surgery today. He broke a bone in his non-throwing hand, I should say, his left hand. He went back into the game, toughed it out, played with a hard cast on, and only took shotgun snaps the rest of the way. If he's had surgery today, surely there's no way he plays on Monday Night Football against the Eagles.
This is non-throwing arm. He'll be fine.
You think?
Why was he in so late in this game is my question.
Yeah.
We talk about it when quarterbacks don't get injured, of like, why is he still in the game? He's actively fucking injured.
He'd broken his hand. Like, it's not like J.D. Daniels the other week who broke his elbow playing. He already had a broken hand.
I cannot understand it. It's so silly.
I think he'll play just because when you look at the Chargers' schedule, it's brutal. They got Eagles, Boys, Texans, Broncos. So you can't really take off any games. I don't think they'll be favourites in any of them games.
No, I think they're in big danger. Obviously, after such a promising start to the season, I think they're big time danger of missing out on the playoffs. Yeah.
And on the other hand, good riddance to the Raiders. They're officially eliminated now from the playoffs, and I think Pete Carroll might be going just because how bad it's been.
Hot take there from Joe.
Well, they're going to Chip Kelly, and it was a whole. It's like, everyone's going to keep Carroll because is this? Everyone loves Pete Carroll, and we'll give him another year and all that kind of stuff. But this is getting worse and worse. But shout out to Brock Bowers for one of the best catches you'll see.
Yeah.
You can't have an 80-year-old leading a rebuild. The entire point of bringing Pete Carroll in was to be competitive. I completely agree, Joe. Get him out.
I mean, he's at the point in life where he should be, NFL coach, won a Super Bowl. Shouldn't he be chasing like teenagers at this point? Is that not what happens? Is that not the cycle?
My lawyers have advised me not to comment.
Oh no, but if she sued us, that would send us to the moon. We want that to happen. Threatening to be sued by Jordan, that'd be good for the show.
These are Paul Redmond words, not mine or Byron's.
My views are also representative of the full Good Teams Win Great Teams Cover squad. So, and your two names are on the show, on the podcast now as well. So it's all of us. We'll all go down together. Anyway, Chargers 8-4, Raiders 2-10. I don't need to see the Las Vegas Raiders play any more football games this season. I just don't. Keep them away. Don't go to them on red zone. Don't need to see them.
They probably won't be there much, mate. So.
Dom, thanks for putting in your fourfold. It was almost as disastrous as mine. You're 1-2 heading into Monday Night Football. Broncos is his favourite. Texans is his underdog, and over 37.5 in Niners Brown. So yeah, pretty disastrous all round. Joe, 3-game lead over Byron as it stands, and you still obviously got 2 to go tonight as well. So that could be 5, could be 4, could stay at 3. Let's move into our ATS then, because I think we've got 3 games to touch on, which is a rarity, I guess. Identical records. And we're going to finish in identical records because we're all on the same on Monday Night Football. So congrats to the Giants for covering against the Patriots. We'll give you that shout out already. 6-8-1. So no real movement. I've still got a 10-game lead over Byron and Joe as we head into week 14. Just me on the Packers and the Cowboys. To kick things off. The 3rd game on Thanksgiving was, of course, the Bengals and the Ravens. And yeah, Bengals 32, Ravens 14. I was so disappointed with the Ravens here. Like, I thought this was going to be one where finally they're going to kind of, that defense they're playing against the Bengals was so bad. They're going to run all over it. Lamar's going to look great. And they're going to have a mini bye and come back and just be tremendous. They weren't. Jackson was erratic. They were skittish. The turnovers were abysmal. Is it 5 turnovers?
Yeah.
Is that right? 5 turnovers. Zay Flowers. Negative fantasy points, how bad he was. I know because I think I started him. Just a disaster all round from the Ravens. But Joe Burrow back and, looked pretty decent considering the time off that he's had.
Yeah, I would say I would give a shout out to the Ravens defense. I thought played well, especially in that first half. How many times the offense kept fumbling and just kept him to field goals all the times in the red zone. But yeah, when Likely had that, that fumble, I think that's when I was like, oh, it's such a Ravens game. This game where they should be winning this game. They should be, just making mistake after mistake, and then have a huge play. And you've got Likely score 2 touchdowns. He has this huge run, stretches out, and he fumbles it out the end zone. It's just like that kind of thing, which we should expect from the Ravens. They certainly put these kind of performances in. They're just lucky that they're in a division which we thought was going to be a very strong one. That 6-6 is currently leading after 13 weeks.
Only division that doesn't have a team with a winning record, the AFC North. It's trash. And yeah, the Ravens and Steelers are just going to be in a rock fight to the end of the year. 9 might be enough with how bad they're playing, both of them. Because I know the Ravens have won 5 in a row, but they still hadn't looked great at any point. Kind of just felt like explosion was coming. It's not coming. But I just wonder if they can, even Ravens or Steelers aren't going to be good enough to be a wildcard team. If the Ravens can just nick it, even if they were a 9-win or just a 10-win team, will that defense carry them? And is it just going to buy enough time for Lamar to sort himself out and for Derrick Henry to get going? And
yeah, I would say with the Ravens, I could see that happening. That just because how good Lamar Jackson is, and I think he's still slightly coming off them. Well, he's on the injury report every single week, so I could see them suddenly getting lightning in a bottle and doing something in the playoffs if they make it there. I just don't think. I think the Steelers are just the Steelers, and it's more the defense would have to be incredible to help that Aaron Rodgers-led offense. But I think the Ravens could suddenly just spark into life. And like I said, Derrick Henry just starts going when he gets a lot colder. And Lamar did run a little bit more against the Bengals and just stop the silly turnovers. And that it could be a dangerous team. So I think most teams in AFC probably want the Steelers to win that division and the Ravens to be sat at home in January.
Yeah, Ravens get a mini bye before hosting the Steelers on Sunday. So I think they need it desperately. And big favourites against the Steelers this week, 5.5 points as it stands. No doubt that'll be the early Sky Sports game anyway. So we'll talk about that in the preview. So just Byron on the Bengals, you two on the Bears. None of us on the Niners. Just you, Joe, on the Jags. Yeah, me and Byron thought the Titans would at least play it close. All of us on the Texans. All of us are on the Dolphins, and the Saints was covered. Falcons, Jets. That's another game we've not talked. One of the other games we've not talked about. Jets 27, Falcons 24. Nick Folk 56-yard walk-off field goal that just about crept over the crossbar. You know, when we see like the one like that Charlie made where he hit it almost above the uprights from 56, and then Nick Folk's just like squeezing one barely over the crossbar. The kicking game has changed, and Nick Folk, you've been a great servant to special teams.
Well, it's a bit harsh. He was 100% before this game, so he was technically the most accurate kicker in the NFL at over 40 years old.
Let's be clear, he made the kick.
He did make the kick.
You don't get bonus points for kicking it above the uprights.
No,
I know the
you
Irish might be
don't.
pushing for a rule change, but it's not coming.
You don't. I just think, the kicking's evolving in the NFL, I suppose, is my point. And
yeah, you're not going to get a bigger experience differential than Charlie Smith versus Nick Folk. So
very true, very true. But yeah, again, not too much to really shout about in this game as well. Tyrod Taylor played quarterback again for the Jets. The point was, Byron, the 1 week you don't back Adonai Mitchell on the ladders, or as he comes up big, 8 for 102 and a touchdown.
What a player. Yeah, finally. I've said it for years on end. He's going to hit. It's going to be 1 week. He's just going to pop off because he has it. He can be a good receiver. I know he can. And yeah, I didn't do it this week. I didn't even check what odds he was to be the leading receiver on the day. I seen he was 100 to 1 on one of the sites. He'll have been bigger on FanDuel and Bet365. DraftKings are normally the shortest. And I just happened to check it like during the late games. I'm like, oh my God, it's going to happen. I've just lost $1,000 basically because I didn't back it. And I was tilting all day. And then thankfully, Zach Ertz ended up getting 106. And I'm just so pleased I didn't back it, because if that had happened, I think I'd have walked into the lake. I'd have got my brick suit on and walked into the lake. And hopefully it's not frozen over, because that would just be depressing, just walking on a frozen lake when I'm trying to drown myself. I'm so pleased though. Adonai Mitchell, he can do it. He can catch a ball. He's shown that he can do it. Good for the Jets. Good for
12 targets as well. He was the offense pretty much. 12 targets outside.
Yeah, I had him in my fantasy game day as well. He won't be 2,200 next week.
No, definitely not. He might do, because the guys that run it are big Jets fans. They might just keep him priced low for you. Just
fingers crossed. Might still be me backing him again next week then. So
possibly, yeah. And yeah, the Falcons again. The Rams had a bad day, obviously losing to the Panthers, but then look across and go, oh well, the draft pick we got has just got better. Again, the Falcons losing another game, 4-8, and miserable. B.J. Robinson had a huge game. I think he was 190 odd yards from scrimmage. They can't take advantage of it. Kirk Cousins actually had a relatively good day as well, but they just couldn't stop the Jets. It's like miserable for the Falcons. And so that draft pick gets better for the Rams. 4-8 Falcons. Jets 3-9. Jets could win another couple of games. Jets might bowl themselves out of kind of draft position as well. Like, they've got the Dolphins this week. They've got a couple of other games. I think they've got to play the Saints, possibly the Titans as well. Maybe.
No, just Dolphins, Jags, Saints, Patriots, Bills.
The Saints might have the Titans then. Anyway, but yeah. Rough day at the office for Atlanta. And last game that we've not touched on is Buccaneers 20, Cardinals 17. +3. Nobody won. It was a push. I also had this as an over. And not great. Bad Sunday of betting. Bucky Irving back for the Bucs, though. That's probably the big point. And also Chris Godwin. Maybe could have another week off, because I saw him drop a pass in the end zone that I've never seen him drop. Before.
No, he started promising, and then that kind of summed up the day, I think, for him. But Bucs win again, stay atop the division for another week. Baker played throughout and didn't have to leave the game injured, so that's a win. And I see Bucky Irving back, even if not at full force yet. It didn't feel like, and the Sean Tucker era is over.
It is, yeah. 2 carries for 0 yards this week for Sean Tucker.
Something truly depressing. I have Sean Tucker starting in a best ball league at 0 points.
Rancid.
Not great.
Rough going. Needed this one time, though, didn't they, after the bad run of fixtures they had. And like the prime, like I say, can they go close out the NFC South? They're getting a bit of a sterner test this year than they have most years they've won it. So we'll see how that Panthers-Bucs race goes. And then, all of us on the Seahawks and the Bills, me and Baron on the Chargers, all of us were on the Broncos, and then, we're all on the Patriots and Monday Night Football. So we'll see how we end up. But another losing week for us all. Pretty bad week 13. Excellent. Should we do a quick roundup of the bets? I didn't have many winning ones. I think you guys had some. Baron, you might need to just check me on some of yours, because I've not updated the sheet color coded. But Joe, we had you delivered AJ Brown, 80 plus yards, 5 receptions and a touchdown on Black Friday at 5-1. Zach Ertz, 50 plus receiving yards at 23-10. And you had Niners, Browns under 36. There were 3 winners for you there. I've not missed any of her. Cool. Byron, you had a good week. Jameson Williams and David Montgomery touchdown, Thanksgiving, 15-2. CD Lamb, 7 plus receptions, 80 plus yards at 6-5. Caleb Williams interception at even money. And Nico Collins touchdown at 5-4. James Cook, as you mentioned earlier, over 17.5 rush attempts. Any more of your other ones win? No. Cool. No. So that is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 so far. Go on, sir.
Yeah, I decided to take a little Kyron Williams ladder. I thought that might be a little sneaky angle with how CMC ripped them up on Monday. 0 targets.
Excellent.
Should get a refund for that.
Yeah, you should.
And not bad. Just refund me out of pity.
Yeah. And then I gave you Packers plus 2.5, Texans plus 4.5, Bills minus 3.5. That was it. I had a miserable week. I think I went 3-9 on sides and totals for the week. It was horrifying. 7-3 last week, 3-9 this week. Horrifying. I just make so many more bets this week as well, just with the way the games are laid out.
Mm-hmm.
Abysmal. We'll do better. So it's like 11 winners heading into Monday Night Football, which is the still plenty of work. Excellent. Right. Fantasy Game Day winning lineup. So yeah, as always, go and join the UK's fastest growing and best NFL daily fantasy platform, Fantasy Game Day. Go download the app now. Use promo code COVER. You'll get a free play after your first entry. And come join the fun. Shout out to the winner this week of the £3 Sunday Stars game, Shifty, with his lineup of Devon A-Chain as his captain, Tyrod Taylor, Vidal, Bam Knight, Puka Nacua, Adonai Mitchell, Kyle Pitts and Trey McBride, all fairly even contributors, really. Like there was no true outstanding performer. Probably Adonai Mitchell. Actually, that was his best score, wasn't it? Yeah, 24.2. Just everybody. Like again, different ways to build these winning lineups. You can have kind of the soup, just 2 or 3 outstanding performers. You can even have a couple of duds that way, or you can just have consistency across the board. 172, a lot lower score than it usually is as well. It's usually around that 200-point mark that gets you the winning score. But I guess with the way the game's split this week and the TV games, etc., bit trickier.
And, Davis Mills was my quarterback call, didn't get put in. We had someone in the YouTubes telling us, Davis Mills was missing out. Yeah, but I did reply to them saying, my pivot is Tyrod Taylor. I think it's a great place so you can easily stack it. I didn't actually call out AD Mitchell, but great place to stack it. Good value. Falcons are soft against the D. So, if you're not sure about something, you could just leave us a comment and we'll probably see it and give you a reply. And, if you pivoted from Davis Mills to Tyrod Taylor, maybe that was Shifty.
Maybe it was Shifty. Yeah, you gave us. I appreciate watching the Fantasy Game Day show and interacting. That's cool. It'd be great if we could get more of that going as well. But yeah, right to call us out on our Fantasy Game Day stuff. Sadly, we recorded it on Wednesday because of Thanksgiving and such. So tough.
But you got an updated Tyrod Taylor tip, so there you go.
Yeah, there you go. But that's why I'm blaming for my 3-9 betting week because Anyway, go join Fantasy Game Day. Use the promo code COVER. Download it now and join. And maybe you can win an 80-odd quid Shifty one for a £3 entry. What more do you want? Sign up now. Use promo code COVER. Got to be 18 years or over in the UK. And, of course, please gamble responsibly. Final bit, Thursday Night Football. It's a big one. TNF on Prime Video. Cowboys are 3-point underdogs. Over-under is 53.5. Dallas head to Lions Den for critical NFC clash. Cowboys and Lions are currently on the outside looking in. Who will take a huge step to securing a playoff berth in Motown? What do we think?
I love it, yeah. Dan Campbell revenge game. Of course. I like Dallas here. Give me the 3 points. I think Detroit just kind of look like they've had the stuffing knocked out of them. I think the Frank Ragnow news is an extra kick and a stuffing out of them. And I just think Dallas's offense at the minute kind of looks a little irresistible. And I'm not sure if you can stop Aiden Hutchinson, I think you stop that pass rush. I'm not saying that's an easy feat to do, but if you can, I think Dallas's defense looked a lot better, unsurprisingly, since Quinn and Williams came aboard as well. Like, they just look so un-error prone. I'm sure there's a better way of saying that, but they look so sound. They look competent up front, especially. There doesn't seem to be those big miscommunications and long, runs getting burst on them. Having optimism about Dallas, but I think they win this game. Straight up,
probably.
+3.
Yeah, I'm leaning the Cowboys too. I think it feels like with this Lions team, especially with the injuries they've got as well, just stop Jahmyr Gibbs, which again it's easier said than done. But if you can do with how Dallas has improved on defense, then they're going to be in this game. And I keep thinking like the Cowboys, like they've had them, losses against like the Cardinals and like of the past that they're starting to win these big games and going on that run where they can sneak into playoffs. Because if they win this, then I think they're probably favourites to get at least one of the two wild cards or to win the division, because the rest of the games look fairly chalk, to be honest. So
mentioned that kind of this run that looks very treacherous coming into the season isn't as bad because of kind of where the teams are. Like I said, this is another of those games against 11 win teams, from the season before. 14. We got the Vikings and it was on my mind. 11 win teams from the season before. It's 6 in a row. So they've played the Eagles, played the Chiefs. They've got to play the Lions, Chargers, Vikings, and the Commanders. Obviously, there's a lot of them that look a lot easier now than they would have done previously. But I just can't see the Cowboys. So if they won this and won out, would that be like 8 in a row that have won to finish the season, or 7 in a row?
I think
it would be 8 in a row, wouldn't it? Because they were 3, 5, and 1, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no way they're winning 8 games in a row to finish the season. So I think this is the one that they drop. And also, I think this one could be quite critical in terms of a wild card spot, and then you're relying on the Eagles dropping out. I think the Cowboys are going to get to 10 wins and miss out on the playoffs. I know I've got a lot of optimism because they're playing a lot better. I think they're going to be 10-6-1 and lose out on a tiebreaker, and it's going to be heartbreaking having won 7 of 8 to 7 of 8 or 7 of 9, whatever, to finish the season. So, but look, I could be completely wrong, and the Cowboys could go in there and win, but the Lions are desperate as well. The Lions are absolutely desperate because they need to. Obviously, if they lose this, they're probably not going to make the playoffs. So I just think at home, bad response from kind of a couple of real dud performances. I think the Lions are going to take it, but hopefully I'm wrong. I've been wrong about a lot of things. I'm certainly not going to be betting the Lions anyway. Maybe I should bet the Lions -3. Anyway, right, that's it for our NFL Week 13 preview. A bumper episode for a bumper week. Thanks for joining us. As always, please make sure you go follow at Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover, all our social media channels. That's X or Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky as well. Get all your betting posts, your Charlie videos, everything on there, all our clips from the episodes, etc. So jump on there and check out the podcast. It's available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, and Overcast, with the video version available on YouTube. Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover. And we'll be back on Friday for our Week 14 preview. Not many left.